Good morning. Surprise, surprise. One second. All right. Not really a surprise with this market. So markets are down, obviously, and down below yesterday's low. So is this a continuation pattern? Will it be a crash kind of a day? Well, we don't have a continuation pattern because it's just the beginning of the day. If it was to close like this, I don't know what my problem is, Jacob, with these charts, to tell you the truth. I guess I'm so into talking to myself here and looking at my charts that I don't forget to share them with everybody. Here they come. One second. Okay. Here we go. So if this was the market close and we had a pattern like this where this took out that high and we had a reversal back down, closing like that, it could be a measured move type of a scenario that could push prices lower. Right. So this is, luckily it's not on a weekly time frame, but we have this support down here. It's the bottom of those pivots there, 30, let's 36 and change. So give or take. All right. So downside today. How do I come to a conclusion about that? All right. So the bottom part down here, where those pivots are, let's call it 36.77, 36 and a half or whatever. 36 and a half, doable. So let me stretch this out here a bit. That's what I want to do. It's kind of like common sense type of situations. What I'm going to do here is get my little drawing thing out here and just pick a big bar. First of all, it's just a 2-day reversal and it's down a whole bunch. Right? So it's only got 2 days to build up some steam, so to speak, or fill up the tank. I'm going to kind of go with this bar here and just kind of eyeball that and just do something like this. Let's just put it here, like as if. All right, so 36.50, I would say, could be a downside possibility. You see the stabilization is already here, and we've got this void, give or take. So I think there definitely could be the possibility of a whipsaw here. Again, if this turns up and it turns into a bottoming tail bar, we'll see what happens at the open here. Anyway, I don't believe there's any kind of a crash day in the cards here, but a retest of 36.50 area, I wouldn't be surprised to see it go down toward that level and see if it turns around. And spiders. Oh, that's from this thing here. I'll get to that, Javier. So 370 was the low, give or take. 71, you see it's gapping down here. It's a bearish gap, but it's within this consolidation, which definitely leads to the possibility of a whipsaw situation. We don't have a red bar after a green bar where it's a continuation type of a pattern, and it would be, since yesterday took out the high of these bars. And if we would get a close down here, then yes, we would look for continuation lower. Pivot over here is like 367. It's not that far down. And so whatever, a little down below that, give or take. And you try and line things up and look at the gap. That's gapping down too. So SPX, there's basically no premiums up above that I would be interested in, because they're so close. And if the morning does turn back up and turns into a bottoming tail where there is some premium, that could be happening. So no interest there. So we got to go with the downside. And 3,600, Jacob, big round number, big open interest, should hold, but there is, last I looked, decent premium below that at 35.85. I'd rather go below it just for a little good measure, just as Peter 5-minute candle Haas called it yesterday, a little sphincter action, with these things as that travels down toward the strike. But so we'll see what the open is. And his trade yesterday was kind of funny. So, this little stabilization here, we'll see what it does in the next 20 minutes or so. If it continues down, I kind of hope it does. That's would actually be ideal for an SPX trade, just letting this thing rip to the downside, getting close, and we pick some ridiculous number down below, which could be probably 35.70 or 65 would probably pop enough to do that. And it's so far out of the way that you always have to believe any trade is going to be going to work out. So I just use safe because of the leverage and how fast these things move. All right, so we look at other markets to see where they're at, and these have room to go down. Again, this bar is still in the making. It's not done. If we were looking at this at the end of the day, 100%, it would create the belief that this is going to be a measured move to the downside, which would put this, let's just kind of eyeball this a little bit. I have to release that and do this. Okay. Just kind of spitball that and just drag it down there, and it would put it pretty close to about 10,000, which is, just looking here, where I've got these pivots, 10,061, 10,000. So actually down below that. So that would be extensive, but anyway, this bar isn't even done. So we'll see. Right. We don't have a completed bar. We can't even say that we have a green bar ignored at this point because it's just the beginning of the day. It did come down real hard. So one of the concepts that we talk about here, or we talk about in MT Live, is how momentum slows. And I think at some point we talked about it here. And that was like a measured move. And then there was still decent momentum. And then here, the lows got closer together, where we had that nice move up confirmed by breadth was really strong. And this was a green bar ignored, right? A 180 reversal. And then momentum again, right? Strong momentum and vertical to the downside. So this could be measured move. It could, again, this red bar is not done, but let's assume it does and it goes lower. Then, of course, we'll see how far it goes before we get some kind of a green bar stabilization. And our factory work would be, are the lows closer together, or is it a measured move to the downside? We need more information. So we start the day with the possibility of going lower. The weekly chart supports it. What doesn't support it are internals. And look, they do not, I've said the markets don't turn on a dime because of the internals. Now, this is close enough, and it's down in the lower bands. I think yesterday I said, look, in a bear market, this usually can go down to 1.3, even 1.4, which we haven't seen in years. But this is going down to 1.2. Breadth flipped up from minus 200. And we'll see what this is at the open. It'll be interesting. Yesterday was kind of wild, where it opened up near 2,000. It went down to like 100, almost got to zero, at the end of the day, flipped back up close to 2000 and came back down again. Yesterday was wild, right? But at the end of the day, breadth was pretty positive. So, I mean, the day-to-day breadth, 1400. So look, institutions were in there buying. Just because you got more money, that doesn't mean you're right. Market's a little wild and crazy, and the trend is down. So in any event, these are close enough to a point where whatever downside does materialize, whether today's red or maybe it turns around or does go down, I would say by next week, we're going to have a turn. These do not tell us look for a turn tomorrow. It just tells us that we're in the ballpark, right? So, I mean, look at this was a lot of put buying down here as it made the low. So, again, we'll just have to see how it plays out. YM, a little bit of a larger bar, vertical move down. And most of the time, even in the most bullish scenario, you get some type of a retest after such a, and reversal, a W type of a pattern after a move down like that. Still stabilizing. You can see it a little more on the 15-minute there. Some bottoming action there prior to the open. We'll see. Same story here. Similar patterns are happening. And I say that you might think it's always happened. It doesn't. A lot of times we've seen in the past big divergences between the markets, but not at this time. So the Russell coming down to some support here. It's had this, maybe 1600. It's had this really terrible breakout failure. I don't know. I've seen one much worse than that, with a base that long to break out with a wide range bar and then break down like that. So that was very, very bearish. And Bitcoin, kind of holding up okay. I think a lot of Bitcoin holders are kind of praying here that this 20,000 holds. I was talking to a friend yesterday. Friends that you haven't heard from a while tend to call when they have underwater positions. And what's going on? And he owns this at 45,000. Kind of praying that this holds here down. Well, I guess for Bitcoin people, I don't know if any people, he's down about 200 grand. So, pain can get a lot worse if it breaks down through here, of course. Oil backing off a little bit. So maybe a little bit of reprieve in the inflation scenario. Not much, but it still is an uptrend and backing off. And, Fed finally came out. We talked about this is going up, it's going up. I mean, how much more pain can they take before they did at least 75? And 5-year just hanging up there. That's not good. One thing the dollar did, was it yesterday? It turned. Where the hell is UUP? Did I erase it? My mistake. I just had a 1-day reversal, but new home construction down 14%. That makes sense, Jake, right? With interest rates going like that, a lot of people have to be second thoughts now that, to borrow that same money that they could have, several months ago is now twice as much. So that's got to put a kink in things. This was holding there for a while and it broke down, and Home Depot was trying to bottom out, and now that's broken down. Will it come down here to this next pivot? I guess we're going to see. So all of these things give us insights as to, is this correction over, at least in the short term, to where things begin to settle down, looking at different stocks and, of course, different markets. It's going to spiders and testing that low area that we've been looking for. And the transports, similar situation, vertical move, the greater than 100% retracement. And so again, as we go into today and tomorrow and the options expiration this week, does that option expiration put some type of a floor under the markets here? Yesterday I mentioned that, there was, pretty sizable open interest at 3,600 and then at 35. But so we'll see how 3,600 holds up if we test that area today in the S&Ps. And this just doesn't update pre-market. Get an idea, but I imagine it's breaking down. But just looking at, recession ideas, cruise lines, getting killed, Carnival dropping. We'll see if this breaks 3150. Not too bad. $36. Continuation down. So a lot of debates, recession, no recession. Does it really matter? Markets are correcting, official bear markets now, and which we knew quite some time ago based on these other information that we look at that was giving us heads up warnings long ago. So we'll see what today brings. If it's just a little gyration as we go into the options expiration, and then I think that's what we really need to see in the end as to we got the Fed thing out of the way, we get options expiration out of the way, quarterly expiration, and we go into next week with our internals, being at the level that they are, thinking that we're close at least to, either this being a W or a little bit lower and then a bounce. So we'll see. Greg, what does the 5-year or the 10-year bonds tell us about market trends? Well, FT, look, way back when, a year ago, right? I pointed out to everybody, I said, you see this basing over here? I said, this is one of the things that, I was pointing out long before it happened. If this breaks out, right, the Fed is going to start feeling the pressure, right? So interest rates the 3-month starts going up. This always gives you the heads up as to what the market believes the Fed is going to have to do. And it's going up and going up, and they did nothing, and they did nothing. And every commentator coming on CNBC, they're behind the curve. They should be doing this. They ignored it. Powell says, oh, it's transitory. We all know the whole story. Now he's got his foot up his, what. And so we'll keep an eye on this to see if it continues to back off here a little bit. 5-year going up, 10-year was going up, all interest rates were heading up, the dollar was going up, currencies are tied to interest rates. So all of these things are what led me to believe we were heading into a bear market long before it was officially a bear market. So these internal market gauges and intermarket analysis is what guides us. And I'm no economist, but I know the historical meanings of what started to happen long ago and the probability of what was going to happen. Anyway, tech stocks have a strong correlation with crypto, QT happening. Well, Javier, tech stocks go under pressure when interest rates are going up. So if they start to come down, right, which we can keep an eye on the 10-year and the 5-year and all that. If they do start to trend down, that'll be a piece of information that'll guide us to, hey, Microsoft may be starting to bottom, right? There's support here at 240, and there's another pivot down here at 229 or 230 or so. So those intermarket relationships are what gives us guidance as to, hey, is this a time to consider buying something like Microsoft, or any tech stock as a counter trend trade? So, well, yours, Dan.
Good morning. So for those of you who have been with us for a while, you can hopefully clearly understand the warning I was giving about FOMC, that I said, don't get sucked into whatever bias you had yesterday, because for whatever reason, so many times the next day is going to be a shocker. And that's exactly what we have today. So we stayed out of that mess. We have light inventory. This is our only open position in the weekly options trader, AMD, even with a gapping down here to 87 bucks. Our short strike is 82.50 for tomorrow. So it still should be profitable. I'll check it at the open. But yeah, so I think Greg had a great review here today that, yeah, we look lower, but we're already down a lot. Like, measured moves that have already fallen this much, have less of a move of doing the same thing in one straight fall or continuation. And then, those internals, I agree. So I'm rooting for the scenario of a quick little additional washout to the downside, just getting them even more extreme, spike in the VIX, etc. And then, yeah, I'll be looking for a turn. I won't be looking for a measured move type thing because of the internals. But as always, charts prevail.
Well, Dan, it's not to interrupt, but on a side note, even something I get more intermediate term, this high price of oil and gas. Look at NIO and some of these EV stocks. I think their day has come, and that was up really nice yesterday.
Yeah. We were looking at that yesterday as a put spread. LI has been on my list here for a couple days. It's back, on this gap up, and then it went sideways, and then Tuesday another gap up. But the weekly's extended on this one as well. But yeah, I'll check it out. Oh shoot, I just had something here. AERC, there it is. All right, this thing trades wacky, but something's going on with that stock. CMC might have had earnings. That's why I was looking at it. It's all over the place. Jabil, no pattern. Kroger had earnings, was up a little bit this morning, 48. So this was actually on our short watch list the last couple of days. Those topping tails. Now it's gapping down here. It might set up a day trade short. Spot. Why am I looking at you? I forget what the news was on that. But no pattern. Saidu, I saw this thing ripping last night after the market. Had a nice day, 460, and then it gapped up after market. This Saidu Space. So is this a competitor with SPCE? I don't know. Saidu. Space is doing nothing. Poor thing. Wow. I remember when this thing rallied to 60 bucks. And it's right when I think they had their first little visit to Mars and went vertical. And I said, be careful, buy the rumor, sell the news. That was the high. team, I was watching this yesterday as a potential double bottom on the weekly, but it has to make the turn. These are a couple Greg found yesterday, Herbalife, Tup we actually entered. And what was the third one you gave us? Oh, Beyond Dog Meat. Let's keep an eye on this for put spread, gapping down a little bit. I set an alarm at 26. We've Bitcoin down here again. So Mister's been a favorite of ours of selling out of the money puts and put spreads. And I'll be watching to do it again. Lost my pre-market. All right, so I don't have much here. Coin also, Coinbase, Hood, Robinhood. Look at that, under $7 now. I remember, wow, this thing went to 90, 85. Wow. This is actually a head and shoulders in a downtrend. See this big topping tail? That was a daily big rally that got failed. Left shoulder, right shoulder, and a downtrend. That does not look good. Oracle was a nice gap up on earnings the other day. I'll watch that on a pullback. A UE, just a vanilla climactic buy setup, but no potent reversal. Same with Zen. Gapping down. I'm going to set an alarm at 60.50 now. If it can claw its way back up there. I already have an alarm at 60, so I'll just leave that. Oh, DWAC. This was going to be a day trade of mine today over this 15-minute shelf. Now it's gapping down. It looks lower. Boeing had a nice 2-day rally, but extended now. Nice double bottom weekly with what we call a new low plus. Exactly what that pattern is. Double bottom, fluid move down, up, retracement less than a third, and you're looking for a flavor of a turn. And that made a new low and range expansion. So that we had to keep an eye on this. There's no place to enter here on the daily, but let's watch it over the next couple of days for continuation. Yeah, as Jake said, Monday's a holiday, stock market holiday now. So IWM was strong, you know, rising 20 and 50. Not many of those out there these days. Making the turn. You know, it's not going very far with the weak market, but I'm going to keep that on my watch list. Goro was a 1, 2, 3 the other day. I'm now deleting it. Microsoft, we're actually short in the advisory letter, the 240s that expire tomorrow. And we said we'll take assignment or roll. Apple gapping under yesterday's low, 30-minute low, that looks lower. All right, so I'm sidelined here, but we're giving up that little bounce here pre-market. So I got a bearish bias, but it's going to be hard to get on board new shorts. So let's just sit back and let things settle down a little bit. Tesla, that's a bearish gap into that real body. That was a big green